Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jason with another edition of the Inked Up Runner. Tonight, I am going to be I'm going to have someone from the East Coast up north coming to you from I believe it's New Hampshire, and it's Kassandra Marin, right?
Yeah, you got it.
We're all right. You never know. I'm from Tennessee, and we tend to butcher. Us in the South, we tend to butcher everything because we have our own dialect and language down here compared to everyone else. So thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about Kassandra is when when you look at people's running profile, you always typically see the same stuff. Ultra runner, a marathoner. You go to Kassandras and she's like rucking champion, beer mile, aficionado, and then mountain runner with the USATF. And it's pretty neat because you see a lot of folks that do some of that. I guess you could call it niche running, but at the same time, she's also very accomplished from the standpoint of she's ran some pretty tough races. She's done the Pikes Peak half marathon, which is not easy. And then the one thing that really stood out to me was you went and you ran the Georgia Death Race, and you ran it pretty damn fast. I believe you ran it in under 16 hours. That course is no joke, and that's some fast ass running right there. So anyway, before we get into all that, tell us a little bit about yourself. So you're from New Hampshire. Have you always been up there?
Good question. So I grew up in Massachusetts, and went to school in Florida. So I've been in the South. I went to school in Florida for 2 years, learning to fly airplanes at Embry-Riddle. And after 2 years, my husband, he joined the military, got stationed out in Colorado. I just went out there summer break before junior year, and then I stayed there because Colorado is pretty amazing. So I was in Colorado Springs for about 5 years. And after he got out of the military, we went back to Florida so he could go back to school. I wound up finishing online or through the worldwide program with a degree in airport management.
Mm-hmm.
We went back to Florida. I got a job in Atlanta, and I started hearing all about ultra running while I was in Georgia. Like Georgia Death Race caught my eye, and then slowly made our way back north. And I've been in New Hampshire now for, I guess, 3 years, but we like it up here. I do miss the mountains of Colorado, but we have some 4,000 footers here, and they're good. I mean, they're not as like majestic or whatever, but they're tough. Yeah.
That's the one thing about running on the East Coast. It's a little different. We just had
very different.
Yeah, we just had a race. I don't know if you've heard of it down in Alabama. This past weekend called Cruel Jewel.
Yep,
and
I'm familiar.
Yeah, so Cruel Jewel is a very, very, very hard 100 miler, and just watching those people coming through, and Liz Canty ended up winning on the women's side, I think she ended up setting a course record, which is amazing. She's just a beast of a runner. But those
she's actually a native Masshole. So we're both from Massachusetts. I follow her, and we were down in the South, like around. Well, I think she moved down to Alabama maybe shortly after I moved out of Georgia. So we never really ran together except for at Georgia Death Race.
Yeah, I imagine y'all were semi in the same neighborhood based off of your time. I mean, you're probably right fairly close to her. So
Georgia Death Race is a story unto itself. I don't know if you wanted to dig into that. There was some drama when we ran it together, but I mean, that can just be water under the bridge, if you will.
Well, we'll definitely hit on it, because that's definitely that time was amazing. But and I think I might know a little bit about that story based off of the year. I saw that the year you ran it. But how did your running story start? Did you follow the model of like every other runner where you just did like the progression, or did you jump straight into it and just immediately start hitting all this hard stuff?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, like I did start running in high school. I ran the mile at like, I don't know, in my gym class. And the PE teacher said, hey, you should go run for track. So I did. And I did get a scholarship for college. But then I moved out to Colorado and I still wanted to stay competitive. So I started, I don't know, looking for, I think it was Running Underground was the website. That I somehow stumbled upon. And they just have like trail races. I signed up for like a Spartan race that never actually went off. And then I met my current best friend. She's been my best friend for, I don't know, probably 15 years now. But she had ran the Baton Death Race the year prior, and she was training to do it again. And that is a marathon with at least, I want to say it was 35 pounds in your ruck.
Mm.
So I started training for that. I've never really been, I don't know, following a consistent or like your typical running path since then. Because I ran this marathon carrying 35 pounds on my back. And meanwhile, I was like 100 pounds myself when I was 20. So since then, like I started to like dip my toes into ultras, and just like anything that looked like an adventure, if you will.
I'm looking at the stuff behind you. Did you run Boston also?
I did, yeah, and that sucked. Both years it was super hot, and I just never really nailed it myself. But yeah, it was a cool experience. Like going through the Wellesley Tunnel with the girls screaming and everything. That was like a highlight. It was fun. We did it when I didn't live up here. So logistics are just really hard because it's a point to point race and it's really hard like to have spectators. Might go back and do it again. But yeah, Boston was pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be like I'm way too slow to ever run anything like that. I think maybe, if I can hold the current time, maybe when I'm like 60 years old, maybe, or
Yeah.
70, I can qualify for it, because the times they just seem to get faster and
Yep.
faster every year. And regardless of how old you are, it seems like, like I think my qualifying time is like either a 3:15 or a 3:20, or
Whew.
it's something absurd.
Yep.
But it's nuts. So for those who aren't real familiar with the whole rucking thing, since you mentioned it,
Sure.
kind of explain what rucking is exactly.
Yeah, so Rucking, like at its basis is it's based off of military movements. So when you're in the military, you have to be able to traverse long distances, carrying a ton of weight on your back, because you don't always have access to a vehicle. So I picked it up. It's big out in like military areas because they have to do that. Like they have to pass certain PT tests. And yeah, so I started rucking, and like you just have a backpack or a ruck, if you will. And they have evolved a lot over the years. I do a lot of stuff with the Go Ruck community, that they put on events. It's a lot of community building activities, which is like, you're not just competing, but you're also like building a team, and friendships. And I really like their structure on how they do events. They also do like, yeah, they did the World Rucking Championship, which was 50 miles with 20 pounds for women, trying to traverse DC at night. That was interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, I like whatever looks like a neat adventure or like challenging that not a lot of people are open to trying. Sign me up. But yeah, you're
So
basically carrying a ton of weight on your back and moving as fast as you can.
you said 50 miles. How long, like how long did that take? I'm just
So
curious.
it was on roads, which helped. And at night, so the temperatures weren't too bad. It was like just above freezing. But I dressed pretty well. It took me, my goal was to hit under 12 hours for that. And I don't remember what it was. It was a fair amount, under 12 hours. So it was
Wow.
pretty, yeah.
That's crazy because you don't really realize like how heavy it is carrying a weight on
Yeah.
your back until you do it. Cause I've just recently gotten into backpacking in the last year, and me and a buddy went backpacking, and I got a little aggressive with my pack. I carried way too much shit in it. And like we were hiking some pretty gnarly trails here in Middle Tennessee. And I think my pack weighed something like 30 pounds.
Hmm.
And I mean, I was absolutely whipped climbing these hills. Of course, it was on a trail and very rooty and stuff. So, but it's still, I mean, you definitely, I guess, have to really kind of train yourself to be able to move pretty, I guess, quickly with carrying all that on your back. Do you feel like that gives you an advantage when you start running without a pack?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like when you're training with the pack, you do start to get used to it. But you also get more familiar with your equipment itself. So you learn how to run efficiently with like your gear. But it absolutely, like, it strengthens your shoulders and your core. And there is more impact on your legs. So I definitely feel like it's improved my strength overall and endurance by training with weight on my back.
And so, and so, how often do you do like the ruck style events?
As often as like the big ones come up. I was doing it a lot more frequently. My husband was into it too. But they've kind of tapered off, and we really haven't been doing too much since COVID, just because like the Go Ruck events haven't been happening as frequently since then. But you'll see me every so often. I'll put my ruck on my back and I'll do like 5 to 8 miles around my neighborhood, instead of like switch it up and do that instead of a run.
I got you. Yeah, because like I said, you don't see a lot of them here. However, a couple of race directors have added a
Yeah.
like a actual rucking division within their race, and so it's interesting because I had never really heard of it until these some of these local folks started really talking about it. And one of the ladies I interviewed, Lauren Byhofer, she's a running coach, and she actually talks a lot about rucking and stuff. And then I started what in the hell is rucking? And then I started looking it up and seeing what it was. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like carrying a bunch of heavy stuff on your back.
Yep.
And then walking with it. So, and it's interesting because there's another guy I watch on YouTube named Jeff Peltier, and he's a Solomon guy, but he does all these destination style races. And he was in Africa, and he had to do this race where you carried all your stuff on your back while you ran, and you ran across the desert. And I was like, holy hell, that looks really tough. And it's kind of like a fast pack style
Yeah.
of running because they camp and stuff. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. I just think I think it's neat. Like I said,
It,
I don't get to talk to a lot of people who do the rucking thing. So I was just,
yeah.
just kind of finding a little bit
Oh
about it.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. I like the community. It's like, I don't know, the things that some people do for fun, you may scratch your head at, but it is fun. It's like, it's a cool challenge, and you find other people who are sick like you, who like fun challenges. So yeah, no, I enjoy it.
So the other thing is the beer mile thing. How did you get into drinking beer and running? Because like
Uh,
that sounds, like I can do it in an ultra, but I couldn't imagine trying to do that shit fast.
it's hard. It's really hard. I was peer pressured. So like during COVID, I was looking forward to getting redemption at Georgia Death Race in 2020, because I got fourth the year before, and there was like some unfortunate circumstances, but that was canceled. So I was just kind of floating around, during COVID times, not having any idea what to do. And Tom Hooper with 603 was like, "Hey, do this thing." It was called Stupidity for a Cause, and I was like, that sounds stupid, but at least you titled it appropriately. So what it was a virtual beer mile. And they were doing some fundraising for like a local charity or something. And it was scheduled to be like around Mother's Day weekend. What I wound up doing is I convinced two other local moms, Tavon and Amy. I was just like, hey, I don't think you guys are doing anything this weekend. Do you want to, like, I don't know, do something stupid and get together and like run a local beer mile? And somehow they agreed to it. So we had a Mother's Day beer mile. And my time was pretty decent without really trying. So then I was like, maybe I should see what I can actually do here. And it sucked, but I was good at it. So then I did another virtual beer mile for the Beer Mile World Classic. And that time was good enough, like across the country, to get invited to go. Last October, they flew me out to Manchester, England, to run against like the best in the world. And I don't know, like I always thought that I'd be better at like mountain running or ultra running, but I'm not gonna say no if someone's gonna fly me somewhere to
That's
compete.
crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, kind of just got into it by peer pressure, but I mean, it's opened some doors.
So for those who don't know the beer mile, how much beer are we drinking, and what was your
Yeah.
best time?
Yeah, so it's actually very technical. There's a lot of rules in place for the beer mile, just so that they can have official records. So what you do is you have 4 beers, and you run, 4 laps of a track. So you start off, the beer has to be at least 5% ABV, 12 ounces. You can do a can or a bottle, but they're really, it just has to be at least 5% for an official beer mile. So you chug your beer as fast as you can, and then you run a quarter mile of the track, and then you do it again. You chug another beer, you run another quarter mile, you wind up chugging 4 beers. If you're fast, you wind up chugging 4 beers in less than 10 minutes. And you have to finish your beer. They measure how much you have left over. So you have to be kind of careful with how you're setting down your bottles or your cans at the end. And I want to say you have to have less than 4 ounces total of foam or liquid. And if you puke at all, that gets, so if you have too much foam, that's a DQ, like you don't get a time, which sucks because some people will have really fast times, but if they have too much foam, it doesn't count.
Wow.
But if you puke, that you can still keep running, you just have to run a penalty lap. So if you're really good, like really competitive times for women are like under 8 minutes. And like, you don't want to know how fast guys run them. They can run under 5 minutes. So like their chugging is like 8 seconds, and then they're just like crushing. Yeah, they're really fast.
That's crazy.
So yeah, so my fastest time was in Manchester. I used bottles and they were like perfectly chilled, so there wasn't too much foam. They were easy to get down, easy to burp and not worry about puking. And I think I ran like a 7:10.
Holy cow, that's
Like,
I would be on my ass
oh
after
yeah, I
like the
was.
third one. Like it would be ugly.
Yeah, it's unpleasant. It's almost like taking a lot of the discomfort of an ultra and just like compressing it into a really tight time frame. But if you're doing a beer mile, 15 minutes later, you're just obliterated and you don't really care anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah.
jacked. You're jacked after
Yep.
after those. That's nuts.
Yeah.
But that's really cool that they flew you out to Manchester
It
to
is.
drink beer and run.
Yeah. And I'm actually doing, so Athletic Brewing is doing a non-alcoholic one on Friday. So I am driving to New York City. I'm going to be out of my place because it's mostly like an elite track meet where people are looking to get like Olympic standard qualifying times, but they're also hosting a non-alcoholic beer mile that I'll be competing in. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, like I might shoot for, I don't think that there's really an official like non-alcoholic beer mile record for women yet, so I might as well see if I can establish that.
Yeah, and I mean, you might as well, because I was looking at. It's funny. I was looking at your ultrasound up, and I noticed that you also ran my friend Ryan's claw mile,
I did.
and
Yep. Yep.
and you were third overall with it. What your time was like? What was it? I think it was like under 8 minutes. That's nuts.
Yeah.
But of course, so you find that doing the White Claw is easier than the beer.
No, it's actually like the level of fizziness. It's just so much harder to burp after. Well, like, I don't know, for some reason White Claw is not very fizzy, but on the other hand, a true seltzer is really fizzy. And I drink a lot of, well, up here it's polar seltzer. So I don't know. I just drink a lot of it. I never thought I would, because my mom always drank it when I was a kid, and I was like, Mom, that stuff is gross. But here I am, and it's like, I don't know, helping me win races. But yeah, no, the beer mile, it's like it has the perfect level of carbonation, where it goes down easy. It's easy to burp, but like any other liquid it's just like a different type of challenge.
Wow.
Yep.
That's interesting. You basically have been schooling me on the beer mile,
I
because like
know.
I had no idea
I have
that
all this knowledge up here. I don't know. I don't really have any application for it outside of actually running these stupid things. But
like I said, I mean, normally when I'm interviewing people, I'm hearing, stories about splits and stuff like that, and now I'm learning about fizziness and foam.
yep.
Who would have thunk it? So this is actually pretty cool. And so, I guess, and I know I'm spending time on all the things I was talking about on your Instagram profile, but one of the things that stood out was the track and field mountain
Yeah.
championship. What is that exactly? Because it's just, it's like one little line, and like I just was, what is that exactly?
Yeah. So up here in New England, the running community, honestly, it's like no place else. Cause like I've done running in Colorado and Florida and Georgia, but coming up here, there's a race literally every weekend and during the week. So the mountain series is based off of, like there are USA Track and Field mountain championship races. There's also world mountain championship races. So if you do really well in the US at these national championships, they'll send you get like to represent Team USA, go run like in Spain or Andorra, all these crazy places. But locally, we have our own mountain series. There's so many ski slopes around here. And if you complete so many races out of the series, you wind up getting not a free entry, but you get a pass to run Mount Washington. And that's the mountain runners version of like Boston, if you will, on the local scale. So that was like one of the goals that I had a few years back. I thought it'd be cool to run Mount Washington, and I'd run the series as a way to get a ticket, like to have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
I just wound up doing really well. One of the most popular and epic mountain races around here is on Loon Mountain. For anyone who's listening that's like in New England, it's one of the best. It is a USA Track and Field event this year. So the champion, I think it's the top couple folks at Loon, they do get a chance to go represent Team USA at another, it's a short distance mountain championship. So that's 6 miles, pretty much all uphill, and the max gradient is something over 30%. It's
Wow.
stupid, but it's a lot of fun. Like you run straight up the mountain, and then you take the gondola back down, and then you chill at the bottom, and you're drinking beer with like all these other runners who, but I don't know, it's a lot of fun. Type 2 fun.
That's cool. Like, and that's funny because like you don't hear a whole lot. Like when you are following the running scene, right? You hear about races out west, right? And then you hear about these group of races here in the east, right? And they spend a ton of time on these races, like in Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, and then we have a few here in Tennessee that are kind of famous and popular, right? And so
Yep.
you hear a lot about those. You really don't hear a lot about stuff up in New England. I mean, you actually hear about more stuff in the Midwest, like Superior and stuff like that, over like New England races. I think some of these races you're talking about, some of the first time I've heard of them, because like they just you just don't hear a ton about them. So, but they sound very, very difficult, because just based off like a 30% grade is very, very steep.
It's no joke. Like, okay, so the motto for the race is there's no safe word. It's really challenging. And the last part of the race where it's, maxed out over 30%, it's just straight up. Like, you can have someone and they're like 10 feet in front of you and you're working your ass off and like you can't really run it. You're trying to hike it as fast as you can, but you just like they're almost within your reach and you just can't catch them. Yeah, but it's a ton of fun. It's so much fun to run at and to spectate. And then you just get like awesome views of all the surrounding mountains. But I think a big reason why you don't hear a lot about it is like I don't think there's too many podcasters or like people who like put out news on these events up here. And they're also like, who really, the crowd is just different. Like, we like being able to like spend an hour or two running and then enjoying time with friends like who you may not see on the course. I mean, we do have folks who run ultras up here too, but like there's some awesome stuff about like not running ultras and being running all day. Like, you get to chill at the end and like go home and sleep in your bed at night, but you still get the thrill of like working really hard.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think adventure running is some of the best running you can do. Actually, probably my favorite run ever probably was, I think it's probably an adventure run. Me and my friend John and Will and Kara, we started in Gatlinburg, in downtown Gatlinburg at the aquarium. And we ran from downtown Gatlinburg all the way, and we summited Mount LeConte, and then ran all the way back down to Gatlinburg in one day. And
How
it
far
was,
was it?
huh?
How far was that?
I think we ended up doing like, I think it may be close to 20 miles, maybe. I think, but the first part of it, you're just going straight up, right? Because you're just climbing straight up, and then once you get to the top, we enjoyed ourselves, and then we ran back down. But I don't know if you ever been up to Mount LeConte, but they have, up at the top of Mount LeConte in the Smokies, they have these cabins that people can rent, and you stay up there. There's like no electricity, and then they if you book a place, they actually feed you. It's a really cool experience if you can stay up there. I think you have to try to book it like a year in advance to get into it. But that run was just amazing, because it was neat, because you ran out of the city, and then you hit the trail, and then you climbed up all the way up. We hit the Rainbow Falls and saw it, and then we went all the way to the summit, and then we saw the cliff tops, and then we came back down a totally different trail, and
Yeah.
then reconnected back to it, right? But it was with friends, and
Yep.
they weren't timing you. There was no, you didn't have to worry about a DNF or anything like that. It was just amazing running, right?
Yeah, totally different kind of experience. And I think doing different things like that, it just gives you more appreciation for all the opportunities that you do get. So
Oh,
yeah, I totally get that.
absolutely. So, we've been beaten around the bush about this Georgia death race, and so we got to get to it, because was that the year that the course wasn't marked right and people got off the course?
Yep. I was the runner who like I was in first when the other runners went off. So like I try not to like think about it too often or be bitter, but like I really wanted the chance to come back because the top three women had gone and taken um the other way, that was the wrong way. And I just like it really deflated me. Because it was about mile 20 and I felt like I looked for the flags, I took the right course, I was with another runner, Sean Weber at the time, and like we were super like on the lookout, like, okay, that's the wrong way. We're gonna go the right way. We went through briars and shit. And then we came out at an aid station, and like there was a whole group of people who were ahead of us at the time, and it was just like we weren't even that far into the race. But it was definitely like a pivotal moment for me, and like this really freaking sucks. Like I was leading the pack, or so I thought, and then like this turn of events happens, and it just totally threw me off. But luckily, the guy that I was with, he was just like, all you can do is keep running, and like hopefully you'll catch him again. So that's what I did. Like I felt like I lost the competitive edge like for a long time. But I kept going, and it was still like a good experience. Still saw a lot of beautiful things along the trails and nice views. And it kind of lit a fire in me. I wanted to come back. I don't know that I will go back to GDR again, but I have like some other races signed up and just want to keep doing what I can do and experiencing, just appreciating the opportunities that I do get. And maybe one day I'll get to Western States.
Have you thought about coming down here to Tennessee and doing like maybe the Barkley Fall Classic? Have you heard of that one?
I was signed up for it. But last year I was just doing too many things at one time, and I wound up choosing to like do the beer mile instead of the BFC, but you might see me down there. My friend who got me into Rucking, she had signed up for Barkley Fall Classic and like tried to talk me into doing that, but we'll probably be there one of these years.
Let me tell you, you've not lived until you've ran a Laz race.
Oh yeah.
Here, the one that really sticks out to me is a Strolling Gym, and I don't know if Strolling Gym is 40 miles on the road, and Laz talks tons of trash. There's pain on the road, talking about how slow you're going and this hitting the hill, and it's just some hard ass running. I mean, that was. Yeah. This was, I think, Camille ran it this year and she broke the course record.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a hard ass race too. I mean, it's funny because here in Tennessee, we definitely have a few, of those signature style, ultra style races. BFC is one of them, right? Strolling Gym is another one. And then, there's several good 100-milers. Have you done a 100-miler yet?
I have not. I'm signed up for my first one. COVID totally like threw everything off for me. But I am signed up for Vermont 100 this year.
Oh, that's a classic.
It is. Yep. Riding with the horses.
Yes. That's one of the, like, that's one I know because yep. I've heard people talk about it. Right.
Yep.
So that's a cool one. So it's and so back to what I was saying, we have a race down here called No Business, and yep. A No Business is actually a Western States qualifier.
Okay.
As well. So you mentioned Western States, so
that's is that
and
new?
Is
that a new qualifier?
It's new, yes, okay. Yes, it's new. And the guy who puts it on, he also puts on another race called Yamakra. It's a 50K. He's 50K, 25K, 10K, 5K. I can't remember. I know it's a 50K because that was my first 50K. But anyway, No Business is like a classic race now here in Tennessee. Carl Meltzer came out and ran it. My friend Garrett, he ran it last year, just went on and on about it. We had a local guy named Jason Thinnell who ran it. He ran it twice back to back, and did 200 miles there this past year. But anyway, yeah, it's a Western States qualifier, and it's a mountain race. I know it looks like you like to be in the mountains, so it's a very good mountain race. It's definitely one worth to check out. I know it's far away, but like it's fun to travel to some of these places and run from time to time. So
yeah, you put it on my radar. I was familiar with it before. I didn't realize it was a qualifier.
yeah, it's a new one. It's a new one, and it's like I said, it's one that the trail system is just gorgeous out there. It's like the scenery and it's brutal as hell too. I mean, there's a climb on a mining road that just kicks your ass, because it's just like, because most of it is, there's a lot of it is single track, but then it's built around like this mining community, this old mining community. So you run down these old mining roads and stuff, and it's really stunning. But it's a great race. It's
nice. That's awesome.
So, all right. So you said you got the Vermont 100. What else you got on your radar?
Some local mountain races. I'm really horrible at planning. So I don't know, whatever pops up. I might do some, like, another Rucking event in the fall. Was supposed to do Mount Washington this year, but my sister's actually getting married not far from there on that day. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe some other like low key, like ultra races or something. But
Well,
yeah,
it definitely seems like you're all over the place. I mean, you do all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's just it's pretty neat. That's one of the things I like just looking at people who do run in a diverse area. I know when I got to talk to Jeff Browning a few weeks ago, he was, he lives out west, but then he runs a ton on the East Coast, and you don't see a lot of West Coast runners come out to the East Coast and run. And then, it's just, I think it's fun to just stretch out a little bit. I need to get out to the West Coast and run some. I doubt I'll ever get in the Western States or anything cool like that. But there's tons of great races out there. So the Pikes Peak, do you ever have any desire to go do the full marathon on that?
Oh yeah. I guess I should clarify. I am signed up for the full marathon this year. So that's not too long after Vermont 100. No, actually they moved it. That's in September this year. But okay, so when I ran the Ascent last year, we had to wait around to take a bus down, and it took forever to get down the mountain in this bus. And the driver was like, I don't know, off the rockers. I don't know if he was mentally stable. But I was like, I could just run down faster at this point. So that's what I signed up for. I signed up for the marathon. But this year it's like, I think the half is in the Solomon Golden Trail series. So I might double and do both. And I don't know. I'm pretty impulsive, so we'll see what I sign up for.
Yeah, it seems like you just jump at whatever looks good, and you just get into it. Like but I mean, it just based off of your times and how you run, you're fast as hell. So I guess it's pretty easy just to jump into stuff, and you can just go out there and just do it, So
yeah. Like sometimes it helps. It never hurts to ask for an elite entry. I mean, worst they can do is say no, and then you look for something else you can sign up for.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't qualify for anything elite, so
Yeah, but yeah, I'm signed up for that. And so I'm gonna try to do something kind of impressive this Friday at the Beer Mile, because in October the Beer Mile World Classic is actually going to, is it Belgium or Brussels? Shit, I don't remember now. It's going someplace really cool. I think it's Belgium. And it's like during Oktoberfest, and I really want the chance to go over there. So I'm hoping I can do something where they'll be like, okay, yeah, let's send some money your way so you can like come compete over here internationally. But yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of like really random things I'm signed up for, mostly small scale, but yeah, I just like getting out there. And if I'm not running, I like to volunteer just to be around the community and cheer folks on. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, that's cool. So did you, I guess it goes without saying, I know Cassandra through the red team. So
Yeah.
have you always like ran with ultra shoes, or is this something, because ultras, it's funny because it's a shoe that you have to get used to wearing. Like, it's not something that a lot of people can just easily put their feet in and just run fairly easy on without some sort of
Right.
adjustment. Have you been in them for a while?
So I've been in them for a few years. And it was like a big injury that prompted me to go towards them. Like, I was having the hardest time with my lower back. I actually wound up discovering that I have scoliosis, and that was like really throwing me off. Um, but at the time, it was like in 2020. I was working with a coach at the time, and they're like saying, "Hey, let's try to, while there's no races, let's see how many miles you can do in a week." And that didn't turn out so good for me. um, but yeah, I had like a lot of like hip and back issues. And for a long time, I just wasn't running at all. So I just figured like, hey, let me start like just trying to get my form figured out. And I did that through ultra, and ultras, they just kept me healthy. So continue to work with them.
It's funny because I don't think I've really have ever had any sort of foot injury, leg injury, knee
Right.
injury, or anything since I've been running in those shoes. It's funny because like, prior to those, I always seemed to have something going on, and I'd heard about them, and I got into Escalantes, and I think that was my first one. And then I just slowly migrated myself over into all the
Yep.
different ones. And but it's a great shoe, and I really like it. And it's neat because you get to meet, being a part of the red team, you get to meet all these cool people. I met you. I've got to meet Peter Mortimer. I met, of course, Jeff Browning is like Mr. Ultra, so I got to meet
Yeah.
him,
Yeah.
and everybody else. So, but anyway, that's cool. So I guess the last thing is, one of the things, too, that you mentioned on your Instagram profile is that you have something called alopecia. What
Yep.
is what is that
Yeah,
exactly?
I can show you. So not to be weird, but so alopecia is what Jada Pinkett Smith has. I'm trying to go for that, GI Jane look. But yeah, so it's an autoimmune disorder where your immune system, for whatever reason, decides to attack the hair follicles. My hair is actually slowly growing back in. It usually happens during the summertime when I get sun, and I don't know if it's like vitamin D or what. But yeah, so when you see me at races, I don't wear the wig. I usually wear the wig for work or like just going out. But I also have like a ton of fun wigs too. So sometimes I switch it up just to confuse people. But yeah, like part of the running community is I met like another runner in the mountain running community who has it. And it's just like with running, like it doesn't matter like what you look like. It just matters like how much effort you put in, and that's what I loved about running. So yeah, I have alopecia, not really any hair, but it doesn't really matter.
It's interesting because I had never heard of it
Mhm.
until the whole thing happened with Jada Pinkett Smith, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so it's crazy how there's all these things that are out there that you don't know much about
Oh
until
yeah.
someone else has it, and then it's brought to the forefront. Now, you say autoimmune. Does
Yep.
it does it so it's basically just hair? It doesn't affect you in
Yeah.
like physically or anything like that? I mean, obviously not your fastest
Yeah.
all all.
No, just
So,
hair. Yep.
well, that's it, and you said it comes back mainly in the summertime.
Yeah, no, so the nice thing is that like I don't have to shave usually anymore. Like I don't like the whole like pre-race day like shave your legs things, like I don't have to do that. um but yeah, sometimes like or if you can't tell, I am actually recovering from like a cold. If my immune system gets distracted fighting something else, then my hair starts to grow back. But it's just my hair.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
makes sense though, the way you say that now. It's like,
I
it
don't know. There's not, yeah, like honestly, there's not many people that talk about it or their experiences. So that like I'm an N of one. That's just my experience. It was like one time I had bronchitis and my hair grew back a lot. I don't know if I'm getting over maybe COVID, but like it's growing back now.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, did you ever get COVID? Did a lot of it grow back? Because it's funny,
Yeah.
everybody's experience with COVID is different, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like I should probably take a COVID test, but whatever my experience is, like it's usually like getting sick. I'm not that sick. But I know I'm really sick if my hair starts to grow back.
that makes sense.
You
That's
know.
very that's fascinating, but it makes
Yeah.
sense how your body is, how it's distracted by one thing, and then it starts
Yeah.
doing something else based off of the distraction.
Yep.
Wow, that's very interesting. Well, this has been fun. Like,
Yeah.
I've really have enjoyed talking to you about your racing, your running, your beer drinking, and
Yep.
I've learned more about beer mile than I've ever heard in my entire life.
If you ever want it.
I didn't realize it was so damn complicated.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me tonight, Kassandra. It's been really wonderful. So really
It's
appreciate
been
it.
my pleasure. Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, and so that is it for this week's episode. And as always, there'll be a video audio version of this. And that's it. And I will see you on the trail.